So this week's vlog is inspired and a little bit of when I was tapping into the topic of how do you let go and when do you let go when it comes to personal relationships, business relationships, just something that isn't flowing in your world anymore. It's the song The Gambler by Kenny Rogers. And I only know and remember the chorus because I used to hear it often growing up as a child. But you know those words. You got to know when to hold them. Know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and when to run. Those four things, because they are definitely energetic things, is a knowing, a being, a perceiving, and a receiving energy that we function from when we are tapped into the truest part of ourselves, which is us as the multidimensional, infinite spiritual being we truly be. We don't take things personally. We're no longer going into judgment. We're literally just functioning from pure consciousness and receiving information, knowing when the next step is and what the next step is. And everything literally flows because we're not getting in our own way. When we're too aligned and too tapped into our ego self, we're going to come up with all sorts of stories. We're going to make something that is tiny into something far greater and far bigger than it is. That's when you get blow ups and you have all these, fights and these, differences of like opinions, but it's not like a calm speaking about these things. It's just this irrational blurting out and everyone trying to be heard and everyone trying to get their voice across. But the more that you choose to detach from that ego self and to detach from judgments and rejections and separations, and you choose what they would call the path of least resistance, you really do gain a higher perspective to get a sense of what do you know in the situation? What information are you perceiving? What can you receive in the situation and experience? And what are you willing to know, be, perceive, and what are you willing to be in this? Because sometimes you're just required to be a different energy. And especially when you can sense that someone else is not in the space that you are yet, in terms of the level of consciousness and awareness, that you get a feel that something is not sort of flowing. And you ask the questions and you ask those energetic questions to be like, what is this? What am I aware of? What do I know, be, perceive, and receive in this situation? And what's required from me in order to get this energy to flow? And when we ask the question, what's required from me in order for this energy to flow, that has to come from an alignment to the higher self, because the ego self will only know what we will benefit from in a situation. Because sometimes the energy that you're required to be is an energy that almost steps back and just surrenders and allows something to occur, allow the person to make a different choice or a different decision, or for them to see that there's far more available to them. And again, this can be a personal relationship, it can be a business relationship. It tends to be the thing that shows up in relationships the most, in terms of if something isn't flowing anymore and you've asked all the questions of what would it take for me to out-create this situation? What would it take for me to out-create this relationship? What would it take for me to have more ease and more flow in this relationship? Again, friendship, personal, or business. It's that awareness and knowing to just go above the ego, tap into the higher self, and ask the questions from a greater perspective, realizing that the energy that is required from you is also to assist your higher self to move forward and to move on. And it's about moving forward courageously, moving forward fearlessly, not thinking about it in terms of the ego self. And I get that it's tricky, especially if you might be new in your spiritual journey of navigating between the ego self and the higher self, and you're still not clear in terms of what is ego and what is higher self. And a lot of the times people tend to not get the ego side of things. And when that is happening, it's another indication of how strongly ego is running the show. And everyone has this idea of what ego is, which is, probably the crux of the matter in terms of why people aren't able to always identify with the ego self, because it really does require you to separate yourself from the ego self in order to observe it and to have kindness and compassion for it, because it's just been functioning that way for a very long time. And when I teach the universal laws, in there, you realize that the lower vibrational energies, those dark energies that exist on the planet and beyond, they thrive on the ego. They've attached themselves to the ego self. So not only is it just the ego self, it's this lower vibrational, darker energy that keeps you wanting to feel finite and small, and, that you've been wrongly accused or treated of something like that. It almost takes that and it blows it up completely. But when something's coming from the higher self aspect, it's definitely a more calm energy. It's an energy that allows you to actually ask questions, detached from the situation, detached from the outcome, and to actually energetically ask what is required. What is the best solution for this? Einstein even said so beautifully that you cannot come up with the solutions with the same level of thinking and consciousness which created the problem or the situation that is not flowing with ease and joy. So it's about stepping into higher levels of consciousness, higher levels of awareness. And you do this by creating the space for you to get clear. So things like meditation is a big, big thing. And there are so many different forms of meditation. And please know that none of them are right or wrong, good or bad. It's actually about the style of meditation that suits you the best and that actually gives you far more of what is required than you just sort of sitting for 20 minutes, closing your eyes and, as listening to an affirmation or a mantra. And when you walk away, you don't feel shifted and you don't feel changed. Because when you're in meditation, you really are sinking and tuning into your highest self. You're becoming more aware of the solutions, of the answers, of the awareness. What do I know, be, perceive, and receive in this situation? You really are getting out of this box of this third dimensional avatar, and you're going beyond that. You're accessing energies that are beyond what you can see in this physical third dimensional world. You're tapping into the unseen energies. You're tapping into the quantum field or the unified field. And it requires you to get out of your own way in order to get to that space. And it's a space. It's a space of nothingness and it's a space of everythingness, which is probably not even a word, but it's that where everything is possible and there's nothing that's possible. Maybe not that there's nothing that's possible. Let me erase, eradicate, and eliminate that. It's just a space where there is just space. It's probably the only way that I can best describe it, space. And we don't know what that space is like because we've identified space as the space within your car, the space within your house, the space that you have, standing next to somebody, the space you have in a friendship or a relationship, like how close can a person get to you physically, emotionally, and spiritual? How many barriers do you have up? How many boundaries do you have up? But space, the infinite amount of space that is our energy field, that is our auric field, that is the universe itself, this energy that we cannot sometimes describe. We cannot always feel it. We cannot always see it with our physical two eyes. It's something that you just sense. And again, that is why those four energies of what we do as an infinite multidimensional spiritual being is we know, be, perceive, and receive energy all the time. Energy is what we're getting our information from, sussing out like, how does this feel and how does this sense, and trusting the law of attraction and the law of vibration. Then people who come into your space, you've attracted them in because of your vibration, your personal vibration and frequency. And if you want to change the amount of people that are coming to your world and the type of people that are coming to your world, change your vibration. Change your frequency by changing your thoughts, changing your words, changing your actions, which will be based on something different when you are in alignment with your higher self. So going back to the part of how do you know when to fold them, when to hold them, when to walk away, and literally when to run, when an energy is just so consuming and you're like, that's it, I'm done. I'm not even walking away, I'm running away. It's allowing yourself to get familiar with your energetic field and getting familiar with your higher self, because that's where all the solutions and the answers are going to come from. Your higher self, which is plugged into the vastness of the universe, tapped in so much greater and so much more expansive than you could possibly logically ever fathom. So Meditation. Get comfortable with having those moments where you just connect to your breathing and you actually get used to what is this energy doing in your body. So not just focusing on the breath and your thoughts are still navigating between the day and stuff. Eventually you will get past that. So if that's what's occurring for you in the beginning and your mind is still incredibly active, please never give up. Never give in, never quit. Please keep practicing beyond that until you get to the space where you're able to sense what you know, that what you're aware of, so that you know, be, perceive, and receive in all situations in your life. What is the energy that's required in that moment? And what is the energy that's required to contribute to it? What is the energy that's required to change the situation? Or what else is available and what else is possible, or what else is required? And it's not coming from here in terms of the logical mind saying, okay, well, it's got to be this because of A, B, C, or X, Y, Z. It's coming from this energy within you. It is a sense, it is a knowing, and it takes practice to strengthen that. So just like every other muscle in your body requires training in order for that muscle to be what it's meant to be, the same with your intuition and your psychic abilities. It's a muscle, and it requires exercise and training and consistency to perfect how you connect with your higher self, how you connect with your intuition. And then you're going to sense within you when it is time to leave certain situations, when it's time to change the situations. Maybe it's not required that you leave it immediately, but there's something that you can be and do to change that situation and the energy of that situation. Or you know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to run. And get familiar with that, because in every single situation you come across, if you know, be, perceive, and receive the energies of what's going on, you have so much greater clarity, so much greater clarity. So I hope this has been helpful. If it has, please let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the content, please hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel as yet, I'd be so grateful if you did. Subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so that you always will be notified when is a video. And let me know also in the comments down below, what material would you like to see? I mean, what topics are there that you might be having difficulty with, that you would like facilitation with in order just to unpack it? So remember, my channel, Living Consciously with MC, is that space where if you are not able to receive coaching in terms of investing in coaching for yourself, private, one-on-one, or in the groups that I do, or the expansion groups, and you were really looking for something that was freely available, let me know so that I can truly tap into my human design generator and research the information, tap into the information so that I can provide you with solutions and with outcomes, or just point you in the right direction of what is required for you to make those shifts so that you truly can unleash your inner alchemist, because we're all alchemists. We've just forgotten the magic and the miracles that exist within us and how to actually maximize them. So let me know below how I can assist you to unleash your inner alchemist even more on this platform. And until next week, sending you lots of love, lots of magic, and lots of blessings. And see you next week.